This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of having Ben Nazarian and Dr. Jason coming from Manhattan Beach. Therabody, Theragun, making you feel better. I am not only hosting this podcast, I am also a client. So good to meet you guys on the audio.
Nice to meet you too.
So Ben, you want to just give a little background on how you decided to pivot into this from other enterprises that you were doing and, the slow, steady, and now explosive growth of Therabody?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I have a passion for building businesses and helping entrepreneurs. So I have done a number of angel investments, and that's actually how I had met Dr. Jason. He had invented this wonky, crazy-looking product, and his best explanation was, "Let me try it on you, and you'll see how good it is." And he was right. I've had back pain throughout my life and muscle tension, and this was the most effective tool I had ever used. And so I was his angel investor, and we decided to, start the company together and see where we can take it. He was the medical expert. I'll turn over to him to introduce himself, but I was going to be the business guy to help him. And before we knew it, the company grew so fast that I became full-time CEO in 2017.
That's great. So, go back to the basics, if you will.
Well, I was a chiropractor here in Los Angeles in 2007, driving my motorcycle on the freeway, which was probably not the smartest thing to do in California. Splitting traffic as you do in California on a motorcycle, and a car cut me off. And I slammed in the side of this car going about 55 miles an hour.
Ouch.
That was October 17th of 2007. By December of 2007, I was in so much pain I couldn't move and I couldn't feel my hand. And as a chiropractor, neither one of those are good because these are my tools. So I started looking for something that I could use between my treatments. I was getting treated in my office, and then I'd have these 23 hours where, you're stuck. I felt powerless, lonely, scared, depressed, all these things that I wasn't okay with. And as a chiropractor, knowing what I needed was really frustrating. I felt like I was making it worse by not doing anything between my visits. So I was looking for something that could relieve my pain, but also be productive in those times when I wasn't seeing a chiropractor. So my brother was a chiropractor in Utah. He had some experience with something that vibrated, looked like a Coke can. I had one at the office, turned it on, put it underneath my armpit like my brother told me to, and the vibration took the pain away. But it didn't last long. It was like an itch that I just couldn't scratch with this vibration. My body got used to it, just like your glasses or a watch or tight socks. Your body gets used to that information. It's called accommodation. So my body just started getting used to this, and it wasn't working. So with the idea that I wanted to be able to do something to my treatments, relieve myself of pain, and keep myself active and not feel so depressed, I made something. So January of 2008, I made something, and I started using it on myself. It was actually just a jigsaw that I went to, got out of the garage, and I started using it on myself. And I got myself better in the first 6 months of 2008. Literally, I was about 100%. That thing served its purpose, and I put it away. So I went back to practice, doing my thing. I would use it every once in a while after the gym or something. I felt like it was great for recovery. But those 6 months, I sort of gathered a lot of information about what it was doing for my body. I didn't realize it was going to be useful. So a patient comes in several months later, same injury, head-on bus collision, neck issue. I thought, well, shit, I wonder if this thing will work on him. So I brought him in, I explained to him what it was, and I told him, this isn't something I think that's really important for people to understand about our brand. This is who we are still today. I needed something to empower me to take care of myself. I wanted him to understand this is going to empower you to keep you out of pain during the times you're not with me, and you're going to bring it back when I'm going to use it. I was the first patient. This guy was the second patient. From 2008 to 2015, I made 5 different versions, creating this massage gun space, going everywhere from NASCAR to TV studios and my own clinic using this thing. And then I met Ben December of 2015 after a journey, and we immediately recognized he was what I needed. I had taken it as far as I could. And I think Ben recognized this ability, the thing this had. And we set up company in 2016, started G1, June of 2016 launch. 1 year later, we launched G2 Pro. 1 year later, we launched G3 Pro. 18 months later, we launched our Gen 4 products. So in the 4 years we're in the market, we've got 8 or 9 products in the market in this Theragun percussive therapy.
So typically the best entrepreneurs create companies based on a personal frustration that they've solved in some way. And what we see a lot in the fitness industry, someone will come to us and say, hey, I'm doing a aerial yoga on a spin bike, and it's kind of Soul Cycle meets, something else. And I'm like, well, was there a reason for that? Like, is there something that you didn't find in the market that you needed to feel like that's a business? Or maybe that's just a class that you want to do, once a year. So from a standpoint of like living and breathing, and maybe back to Ben, you probably see a lot of deals with a lot of entrepreneurs. And, one of the questions I always ask is like, why did you do this? Or, why are you the right person to back here? So how did you think about that as an investor, and obviously jumping in, when the product became what it, to take this leap?
Yeah, I think when I met Dr. Jason, we didn't think that this would be a whole category of massage guns and we would be the creator of that space. You hope those kind of things happen, but it's not what you plan for, and it doesn't happen too often. So if that's your premise for an investment, then you can be disappointed quite a few times. And to be honest with you, I didn't think we knew how big this would be. We didn't think this would be a mass consumer product. And I realized very beginning that there's a huge education component to this, because I sent this to my chiropractor and she said, what is this and what do I do with it? And she obviously had not felt what I had felt when Jason had used it on me, but we thought that it could be a really good product for physical therapists, massage therapists, and chiropractors. And pro athletes, we knew that they would use it as well. But having this be a total mass consumer product was completely unexpected. And I think something Jason said is really important, which is we're not just a fitness recovery company. The genesis of this whole thing was Jason's accident. And so many of our customers use this for muscle tension and pain management. And that could be because you're sitting behind a Zoom call all day, or because you're sore from a workout, or you have an injury or some kind of ailment. The source of the pain doesn't matter. If someone has muscle tension, this works. And I think when we realize this can be a mass consumer product and it can be for everyone. And it's been off to the races ever since Kyrie Irving used it during Game 5 of the NBA championship.
Yeah, no, you definitely get a lot of people walking around with their own gun. They're probably going to start to accessorize that, like with like rhinestones and such. That's kind of the next evolution. Doctor, when you take a look at selling this into the channel, I'm sure the obvious answer is, you're creating this gun, now it's going to kind of take me out of business, and you're kind of getting rid of me as the therapist. Obviously, look, this is something you could do. You could go to a specialist. Here's like your own, tool in your toolkit, if you will. So how did you kind of fight through that as you're creating a professional level product, but you're also not trying to disintermediate the professionals?
Well, the little secret in this industry is that every good therapist wants to empower and teach their patients. So any good therapist, and we've had so many different interactions over the years, but any good therapist, it just takes a second, and then they realize, look, we're trying to help as many people as possible. So it was literally just having them understand the intention behind it. I'm not looking to take over. Look, Ben has issues with his back that he can't fix himself. So at some point, you got to go have someone fix it for you. So there's always going to be a need for that. The education that we carry, the understanding of the body that we carry, we hope to disperse that onto our patients. And this is just one of those tools. So it actually has been a really good thing. And Ben talked about education. We've got some really great courses that we teach that really helps them implement and learn how to generate revenue. But more importantly, you learn really how to affect change in people's lives.
But we did get that concern at the beginning. Hey, you're trying to put me out of business. And, whether it's a chiropractor, a physical therapist, or a massage therapist, they know my body better than I do. So the way they use a Theragun is nowhere near the way I would use it on myself. So I can use it between calls or between sessions with my chiropractor, but it's not going to ever replace what that person can do for me. And so it's actually a very complementary relationship.
When you think about, well, one, you guys already live in Southern California, so that's kind of like a win out of the bat. And, you guys have both been successful, in and of itself. So, when you look at the amount of capital that's getting thrown into the, Halo sector at large, or supplements and vitamins and different type of boutique fitness chains, and, now there's all these SPACs out there. I'm sure you guys are getting called. When do you kind of stop and say, hey, look, when I'm ready to sell this business, that's when I'll sell this business, but I got a lot of work to do, and I'm not under any kind of, external pressure to affect the kind of change holistically that you want to do. So maybe kind of chime in here when you say, okay, like the markets want one thing, and I can probably sell into that market hysteria. At the same time, like I got something special here. I'm probably not going to come up with another Theragun or Therabody in the next 10 years. So I want to actually, enjoy this ride. So maybe give our entrepreneurs a little bit of like a dose of like, hey, you don't have to do what other people want you to do. You can do what you want to do.
Ben, you want to go first?
Sure. I think you're absolutely right. I think part of our success has been we have broken a lot of rules that the professionals said, this won't work. The first one was advertising on Instagram. And our agency said this will never sell on Instagram. Who would buy a $600 product that they have never tried before and they can't touch and feel? And we'll test it, and we hope that maybe it creates some brand awareness, but don't expect a whole lot. And I don't know if it was our total belief in Theragun or ignorance. They say ignorance is bliss. And just saying, let's try it. But we experimented with it, and we do that a lot where we're willing to try new things and see if it works. And we broke a lot of rules with the way we've approached the market.
Doctor?
Well, I think what's really made this successful is that we were doing what we felt was right.
Yeah.
Almost every step of the way. From the first day Ben and I sat down in his office and we wrote this sort of rough business plan that took us 9-12 hours. It was really, how can we get this in the hands of people that know what it does and help amplify that message? And it's been really fascinating to me because for 8 years I was doing this without Ben. And I felt the shifts in the tides, and I would hear what people would say, and then I'd see people adopt this. So I think what we really experienced was Ben and I coming together and us really sort of understanding like what we really wanted for this brand. And it created this crazy momentum that just sort of follows us behind like a wake behind a boat. So I think what's really made us successful is us sincerely understanding we have an obligation to make sure everyone understands what this is. And we don't sell. We educate. We give context. We give research. It's not about selling this product because everyone needs it. That's a fact.
Do you think if you guys connected, say, 8 years ago, even though you've been able to do what you've been able to do specifically over the last 3 to 4 years, at least from how I feel about seeing the Theragun and seeing Therabody as a brand, like up close and personal. I guess maybe a question about timing is a lot in life about business and also when you start a company. So I guess, like you could be an evangelist. Somebody the other day was saying like ABC Financial, one of the largest billing companies, they were a 38-year overnight success, and it was basically hand combat, just getting a club at a time. So, Dr. Jason, like, was the market ready for this or did you kind of need to be like a pioneer 8 years ago and like things happened at the right time for the right reason?
It was all timing, 100% timing. I didn't understand for many years before I met Ben why this thing wouldn't leave me alone. And I could spend another podcast giving you examples of what I'm talking about, but it just never left me alone. And every time I used it, it had some sort of effect on a person and it motivated me to keep going, even though I was getting kicked out of driving ranges and kicked out of Indian Wells and kicked out of all these places because it was too noisy or no one understood what it was. So absolutely, I think it was timing. And I think you're seeing that now as the world is starting to be more aware of their situation in their bodies. So I think it's really 100%. I mean, Ben and I could have met in 1999. It wouldn't have been what it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're at a time where there's this definitely a much more, I don't want to call it a trend because trends die, but there's a lot more awareness around both wellness and taking care of your body naturally, which this product does, as opposed to surgery, pain medication, all the other options that Jason had, and also recovery in fitness and sports. That focus on recovery was not there 10 years ago. And so whether it was Tom Brady talking about how he's able to play football in his 40s due to recovery and the way he's taking care of his body, not due to fitness, I think has gotten this message out, and people are looking at Theragun as one of those modalities to drive recovery.
So I was working on a deal recently, and one of the investors says, well, that product, it's overpriced, is what they said to me about another workout recovery. And, all they have is the brand. And I'm like, I looked at him, I said, yeah, that's right. That's actually better than anything you could actually have when your brand actually is an authority on something by just mashing some letters together. So how do you think about, being an authority? Because I watch your videos that are on the app. If you say, stand on one leg, I'm going to stand on one leg, So how do you feel like Dr. Jason? You've seen a lot of products and you've seen a lot of education, and you've seen people say, oh, that product's, too expensive. It's like, yeah, but it actually solves a problem that's way more expensive than that.
Yeah.
How do you think about that commentary?
Again, I could give you so many stories. I remember we were at the CrossFit Games, and this guy walked up with a Rolex on his watch, on his wrist, by the way. And he looked at these guys and he goes, this thing's too expensive. I could go buy them. I want to make one of these. And I'm like, great, put it down, please, and step away with your Rolex. I mean, how much is health worth to you? And I actually think, and this is crazy to say this, but I actually think if you amortize what this provides for you in a year, you're actually getting a really good deal. You spend twice this on a cell phone. So I think it's understanding what it does for your body. I'm okay with people saying it's too expensive because most people aren't educated well enough about their body to recognize the value. And that's part of what our education is about. Look, I get that you think it's expensive, but let me explain to you what this can do for you and how it can actually change your life. And I can't tell you the number of people that write into us, DM me, oh my God, I can't believe I waited this long. I should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at the, there's obviously a lot of massage guns now available. You go on Amazon and there's a bunch of Chinese products that are very, very cheap. And I think the old adage of you get what you pay for is very true. And, the other ones don't work as well. They don't have the same quality. They don't last as long. And I think my favorite experience to kind of validate that, because, we can only say we're better so many times, but when people affirm that, then it makes it all worthwhile. We'll go into business meetings and people have a competing device. And when they try our device, they're like, oh, now I get why it's better. And whether it's the quality, it's the amplitude and the depth that it goes in the muscle, the ergonomics, the attachments, all of these things, we have spent a lot of time and money engineering it, designing it, and Dr. Jason testing it, testing out patients and making sure that it actually works. Nobody else is doing this. And, then you get the consumer side when people actually send us DMs or posting on social saying, yeah, I did buy the cheaper one and it didn't do what everyone was saying your Theragun does on your Instagram post. So I returned it. I bought a Theragun and this really does work. And I'm so happy and it's worth the money. And what we always tell people is we're here to provide value. It's not about the price. Is it worth what you're paying for? And when we get those comments back, it makes us feel really good about it because we take a lot of care about every single detail in our product.
A lot of the health club industry is, a race to the bottom on pricing. And In New York City now, you can actually get like a Planet Fitness membership for less than like a turkey wrap. So it's just like, what, like, why are you doing that to us? It's interesting. You could set up like a Therabody, like take a test drive or something. Maybe that's like the more people that use it, you got to try it and then you're a believer. As you see some of these other modalities that are coming out, and do you see, Dr. Jason, you say, hey, look, I'm basically sticking with, my Mercedes, if you will. Like we're involved with an infrared sauna technology company that's got some cool things going on. There's obviously some things going on in cryo that are interesting. You got LED lighting. How do you, without kind of giving us too much details, but how do you think about, look, I've got a huge opportunity here. I've just convinced everyone and educated people that this is the go-to. Why should I go and pivot when I should just kind of stay in the same car?
Well, I think you said it a minute ago, there's probably not going to be another Theragun that comes along for another 10 or 20 years that does this sort of change. And I have to remind people that it's just one of the tools that I use. I've seen a change in this physical therapy, physical medicine world, and there's a lot of new things happening. So it'd be ignorant of me to think that I have the Holy Grail, I don't need anything else. Ben and I are constantly talking about different technologies and science and how can we affect a bigger change in the everyday person. Professional athletes it's given to them at their beck and call, but they're not the ones, ironically, that need it most of the time. So how can we take some of these technologies, have them make sense, and affect change in the common person? And we're always innovating. It's something that's just part of who we are. If you look at how many products we made since day one. I mean, I made 6 by the time I met Ben, and we've done at least twice that in the last 4 years. So it really is part of what we're doing. And I appreciate that question because I think people might think that I'm all about Theragun, and I am, absolutely. But it's not the do-all, end-all, be-all. So I want to make sure that people recognize that. And look, there's some great, amazing modalities that are out there that definitely complement and sometimes help issues that Theragun might not be able to. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I think there's a lot of really cool opportunities out there for people that are innovating.
Yeah. So Ben, just last question here, just from an investment standpoint, obviously, from the research I've done, you've been involved in a lot of different businesses and a lot of different industries. Does this one, do you feel different when you wake up in the morning now, knowing that you're not just building a business, but you're actually changing people's lives? And would you go back to saying, hey, look, I can go do a aerospace parts company, or I can go do a private equity fund where we're going to invest in, spirits or, cable wiring or something. Like, I know I've been rewired myself because I've been doing this 20 years. I can't think of an investment opportunity I'd actually do outside of my own industry.
Yeah, and I think this has definitely been the funnest company I've ever been involved with. The aerospace company you mentioned was definitely up there when we were making parts for the space shuttle and the space station and Blackhawks. And when you have, someone in the military and their lives are in your hands, you take that very seriously. This is very different, but I would say probably even more gratifying because we're helping change people's lives. The emails and the reviews that we get when people say, I've tried every modality and nothing worked, and I can now stop taking pain medication because of what Theragun does for me. I mean, that just gives you a sense of gratitude and happiness that you just don't get in a normal company. And that's what has actually detracted, I would say most of the people who work at Theragun had experienced Theragun in some way before they joined us. And they come to us and say, I want to work here because I know what this product does. I know what this company does. I know what values you have and what your mission is. And that's why we've been able to put together such an incredible team. And so the second part of that is working with people who are really amazing at what they do and are so talented. I'm learning from them every single day. And that makes my job a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So, Dr. Jason, I will see you in Manhattan Beach in several weeks and look forward to meet you guys up in person. But Jason, maybe, parting words here, if you got a quote that you live by or, one final takeaway.
The road that I went down to get to where I met Ben was probably of the most difficult road I could have taken. And one of the things, I think there's a couple of them, to get to Ben, I practiced consistency, persistence, and delusion.
By the way, that's true. All of that is true.
After meeting Ben, I've learned that we have to walk towards resistance. Wherever there's a challenge, whatever things that seem difficult, I've learned that the hardest thing and the right thing are usually the same thing when it comes to making decisions. And you have to surround yourself with amazing people, because no matter how smart you are, you're not going to have the best perspective. And to be able to have people around you that are really good at what they do is empowering.
Awesome. Well, guys, great work. I am excited that we connected here live. We'll get this out to the network. Hopefully make more people live a healthier and less stressed lifestyle. And I will see you guys in Southern California before Christmas.
Amazing.
All right, guys. Thanks for the time, man. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Good work.
As we continue to build our Halo Talks email notification database, want to offer you a free $10 instant gift card from our friends at Promotion Vault. Also to show you how easy it is to offer your members and prospects and clients the ability to get desired actions out of them and reward them in real time. Go to halotalks.com, put your email address into the pop-up box, see how it works, get a free $10 gift card from us, and keep listening and making everybody great.